always change. I've been going through some things.
Welcome to Always Auburn with your host, Tyler Crane.
All right, we're back at you with Always Auburn, coming at you Monday morning. The Deep South oldest rivalry is on the slate for this week, and the Auburn Tigers are coming off a much-needed off week, headed into this big matchup where we probably will see what Hugh Freeze's future really looks like. First, I want to tell y'all that I'm sorry. I've been kind of missing in action for the end of last week, and I ended up getting sick. I'm still kind of getting over it. I'm not sure. It might be the weather change. Not fully sure, but nevertheless, it was probably a good time. If I was going to get sick, at least we did it with a bye week, and I'm feeling better. So hopefully, I'm at the end of it. And like I said, I think it's just a little cold with the weather changing, and we'll keep it moving. Today we're kind of just going to talk about Deep South's oldest rivalry. I don't really have much on the slate. I feel like everything's really all been said. It's been put out there. We are at a point that it's put up or shut up with Hugh Freeze, and the opportunity's never been greater. Yeah, we went on the road against Oklahoma and Texas A&M and put up some poor performances on offense and ended up dropping those games. And a lot of it can be pointed towards the coaching staff, towards Hugh Freeze, just the bad offensive game planning, the disappointing offensive line efforts. All of it really is pointed at the offense, which is what our head coach takes pride in and really harps that that's his fine point. That's what he offers to the program, his offensive strategic mindset. And we're just not seeing it. He's falling short. But nevertheless, I've mentioned this before. The beautiful thing about our conference is that you always have the opportunity right around the corner to put the past in the past and really start the track for a new future. And here we are again, a bye week. Couldn't have came at a better time. Not just on my personal end, but on Auburn's team. But with the struggles, with the just everything, the expectations headed into Oklahoma and Texas A&M after starting off 3-0 and getting the big win against Baylor on the road, and then kind of falling off and really losing maybe the sense of confidence and the identity that we gained after those 3 victories to start the beginning of the year. You feel like you're kind of like stuck back at maybe where we were at the end of last year and took steps backwards. And so that off week could be really pivotal in really redefining our goals and setting out to change the trajectory of the past 2 weeks. It's like we started off like this, and then we started going like this, and now we can change it. And everything, I've mentioned this before, everything is still in front of us. We still have all the opportunity to win big games, to make a run at the SEC. Whatever is set out for Auburn to do, their goals, I don't know how realistic they are, but their goals, which realistic goals at Auburn University, are winning championships, just to be quite frank about the whole thing. So I don't know what Hugh Freeze's goals were at the beginning of the season. I wasn't in that discussion. I wasn't in that meeting. But I do know at Auburn University, our goals for the football program should be to compete for championships because we've been at that level before. We've established that. We're in the top 15 of all-time winning programs in the entire college football landscape. So it's really not far out to say that we are a championship-worthy program, and that should always be kind of the priority headed into every season to put that type of effort and put that type of quality on the field. So with that being said, man, everything's in front of us. I'm not going to get into the defense because the defense looks good. I think we're going to face a good defense. We're going to face a defense that's a lot like ours. I hope we've been using what we have in our favor, our defensive production, to sharpen our offense. I hope during this off week that Coach Freeze has really took the time to take, okay, we haven't been good at this part. So let's use what we have been good at, defense, and put them on the field against our offense and practice against them, make them better defense. And I mentioned a lot of that on last week's video, just kind of recapping on that. I didn't talk a lot about Jackson Arnold because I'm still not really, he hasn't deemed to me that he is terrible. I haven't made that conclusion that he is Peyton Thorne all over again. I haven't. I see glimpses of some disappointing quarterbacks, reflections of disappointing quarterbacks Auburn's had in the past that kind of are similar to his play. Not just Peyton Thorne, Jeremy Johnson, Kyle Frazier, a lot of those quarterbacks who I can remember who had a problem with taking sacks and holding on to the ball and not being able to just focus on breaking down coverage and paid a little too much attention to what was going on with the defensive line. And I think that comes from a variety of things, from either not trusting play calling, not trusting your receivers, to not trusting your offensive line, and even not trusting yourself. So to see that, though, always it arises the question about Jackson Arnold's confidence, which he made public, made known that was a struggling point for him at Oklahoma, and ensuingly led to his demise at Oklahoma. He got benched and was pretty much put into a you're not going to play situation, so you might as well try to hit the transfer portal. And that's what he did, and he found a home at Auburn because Hugh Freeze looked over, I think, his struggles last year and focused mainly on the potential that was surrounded through his 5-star rating in high school and big recruit status. I think he focused a lot on that and made up in his mind that Coach Freeze, can bring that out of him at Auburn. He was in a bad place at Oklahoma with a lot of injuries and a lot of uncertainty on the offensive side of the football. But sad to say, we're seeing a lot of the same thing. If you can remember Jackson Arnold beating Alabama last year, that was one of his high points. And he didn't really throw the ball. He did what he's been successful doing here. He ran the ball. And we hadn't seen that success the past 2 weeks because we played SEC caliber defensive lines, and it's just simply just not, unless that's your specific game plan to go in there and run the ball with Jackson Arnold, it's not necessarily going to work. So we saw it successful against Baylor, and I think it can be a successful part of his game, but it's got to be in balance with what Coach Freeze is trying to do, which we all know he wants to throw the ball. He wants to get the ball to these big play receivers. So do I think that we're going to see another quarterback Saturday? Not at all. I do not think, unless Jackson Arnold gets hurt or he comes out in the first half and looks like Hank Brown did last year when he got the start and threw 3 interceptions in the first half. I think that's the only way we see another quarterback, to tell you the truth. I think Coach Freeze is going to stick with what he has, and he's going to put his trust in Jackson Arnold. And what that means, though, is that we have to see something different out of him. And maybe he's going to be a different quarterback at home. It's different on the road in the SEC for sure. You had all the distractions at Oklahoma about him coming back home, and the whole stadium, played him they were the villain and he was the victim, and they let him know about it and all that. That's all good. And then you go to Kyle Field, College Station, one of the biggest venues in all of college football, home of the 12th man, and it can be hard and it can be intimidating as a quarterback who's really still in a very much of a developmental stage. He's not seasoned at this position in the SEC. He was benched last year, and he's now coming to a new program at Auburn under a completely different coaching staff. So he doesn't have all the experience in the world. So you can definitely make the excuse for him and that's what it is. It's an excuse, by the way. But nevertheless, you can definitely make that excuse that it's his first time being in these big hostile environments in this offense, and it's going to take some growing. It's going to take some growing pains, and it's going to take him bumping his head to learn and to learn from these experiences and get better. And I'm not so sure that's not what we're seeing. So that's why I'm not so quick to write Jackson Arnold off. There are a lot of things, a lot of implications that really show you, though, really raise the concern that does he have confidence because he's holding on to the ball? He's not letting it go. It doesn't look like he trusts himself. I don't even know if it can't be the receivers because they're really good. And I think he knows that. So is he not trusting himself? Does he not trust his coaches? Does he not trust his preparation? Those are concerns. I know it's hard to coach that out of somebody. You can coach, you can coach timing, you can coach reading defenses, you can coach, you can coach manipulating defenses with the quarterback's eyes. You can coach all that stuff. But a couple things you can't coach. You can't coach talent. You're either born with it or you're not. It is what it is in that area. And I think Jackson Arnold's got plenty of talent. That's not what I'm saying. But you can't coach talent. And I don't know if you can coach confidence. I think that kind of runs along with talent. It's something that's got to be within you. I think about the quarterbacks we've seen who had confidence at Auburn. Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, even Jarrett Stidham, even Bo Nix with all the ups and downs he had at Auburn. There was a sense of calmness about them, I felt like. The moments they were never too big. Now, did they always execute in those moments? I mean, Bo Nix, for example, did they always show up in those moments? No, not necessarily, but the potential for them to do to make the plays in the big moments were always there. With someone who doesn't have confidence, who lacks that in his game, that potential is almost ceased. I mean, it because when you're defeated, when you lack confidence, you're defeated before you even play the game, if that makes sense. You already have made up in your mind. The reason you don't have confidence is because you've already made up in your mind that you can be defeated. Some players have mindsets that I don't care what you throw at me, who's coming at me, this, that, and the third, you can't beat me. Now, does that mean I'm going to win every matchup? No, not necessarily. Case in example, Bo Nix. But at the same time, I think I take you back to Oregon, freshman year, first start. Had ice in his veins. Took us down the field, hit Seth Williams in the end zone. I want to say it was Seth Williams. Hit Seth Williams in the end zone. 40 seconds left, whatever was on the clock. It was under a minute to win the game. Pulled the trigger. The ball could have been picked off, anything. You know what I'm saying? But he never thought about it like that. He thought to win the game. He didn't think don't lose the game. You see what I'm saying? If that's in your mind that I don't want to lose the game, then that's an issue. You got to think, what can I do to win the game? And I'm going to do everything in my power to do that. And if I mess up along the way, then it is what it is, But you never give yourself that chance if you already are preparing to lose. If you're already have the mindset that if I throw a pick right here, then we don't get to kick, like in the case of the Oregon game. We could have kicked a field goal and we could have either tied the game up with a field goal or won the game with a field goal and went to overtime if it would have been a tie. I'm not exactly sure, but we would have been back in the game, if not have won the game with a field goal. And we were well within field goal range. But Bo Nix wasn't thinking like that. He was thinking, win the game, I'm going to score a touchdown, and I'm going to hit Seth Williams. The thought of an interception or a ball getting tipped up in the air or anything like that never crossed his mind in that moment. I can't say the same about Jackson Arnold because I see this man take sack after sack. I think he probably has – I saw a stat the other day. He's got like 20 sacks this year with 0 turnovers. But what does that mean? That's not a good thing. In my mind, you might as well been turning the ball over, Jackson, because you're getting sacked every other time, and we lead the nation in probably punts because of that. I think we've punted the ball 40 times this year, which is crazy. I saw a stat. Gus Malzahn, they were talking about Florida State, Miami during the Florida State Miami game. They said Florida State had only punted the ball 5 times this year at the beginning of that game. They averaged 1 punt per game. Auburn averages about 10 punts per game. Something's wrong with that. But nevertheless, I'm not throwing the towel in on Jackson Arnold. I want to see what he does at home against the Bulldogs. I want to see if it looks any different. I want to see if he gets rid of the ball. I mean, as bad as this sounds, I wouldn't mind seeing the kid throw an interception at the beginning of the game. Get it out of your system, man, because it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. And I think when it gets out of your system, it might allow you to play a little more free, to tell you the truth. I'm not sold on that, but at the same time, like, there's something to the 0 turnovers, but the 20 sacks. So, it's just like, get it out of there, man. Get it out of the system. I don't know. But yeah, big opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. It can really turn the season. I've seen in my time being an Auburn fan, one game, I've said it before on the show, one game changes the entire trajectory of the season. Changes everything. And like I said, everything's still in front of us. This sets us up to go take on a Missouri next week and come out of Georgia and Missouri with 2 big top 25 wins. Kind of start balancing that scale a little bit, Hugh Freeze, with the 1-10 record against ranked teams. Now, is Missouri going to be ranked next week? I'm not 100% sure, because they play Alabama this week, and we'd love them to beat Alabama, don't get me wrong, and then come into Jordan-Hare as a ranked team. But I'm not so sure how the polls are going to favor them if they go take an L to Alabama this week. But nevertheless, the opportunity to knock off 2 ranked teams are this week and next week. And then, what do you know, Coach Freeze? You do that, and people aren't calling for your job anymore. And your seat does start to cool down some, and we can really focus on, okay, let's wind this season into making this Iron Bowl really mean something in Jordan-Hare Stadium in a couple more in about a month, or 6 weeks. Let's kind of navigate that, because that's there. Kentucky's not any good, and Arkansas, we see what's going on with them. Now, can we lose those games? Yeah, I'm not saying we can. I mean, we lost to New Mexico State a couple years ago by 3 touchdowns. So I'm not. Don't get my words twisted. I'm not jumping way ahead. All I'm trying to do is paint the picture that take care of business this week, and the road doesn't look as clouded and foggy and just trapped and congested as what we may have thought 2 weeks ago with our coaching staff and just entire outline source of the football program. So it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Las Vegas has the game at 3.5. Auburn is getting 3.5 points as of now. That's what I saw this morning. It's probably going to change. A lot of people are going to jump on Georgia, which is going to increase it. But I don't see it getting past 7 with it coming out low like that, or really 6. I think they're going to keep jumping it to probably maybe it might get to 5.5. But I think that'll probably be the final line. And we know Auburn shows up at home. We know Auburn has a just historical knack for turning these types of games into miracle games, just uplifting, inspiring games where you see a Auburn football team come out and put on the field everything we know that they have always been capable of, and really illustrate that this is a winning football program, a proud football program, and we're going to put that on the field this weekend. So we got a lot this week coming out. I just really kind of wanted to introduce the game a little bit, talk about Jackson Arnold a little bit, get back on here, get back on the flow a little bit, and we'll really start breaking down Georgia's defense throughout the week. Georgia's offense, they got some good running backs. Auburn is going. We have defended the run very well so far this year, but our biggest test is going to be facing that big offensive line Georgia has, and and their desire to run the football and dominate the line of scrimmage with those big, strong running backs and that big offensive line. So I think that's what we'll get into tomorrow. Is just the matchup there. It's kind of going to be the Goliath matchup of the game. It'll be, what can Georgia's offensive line do against Auburn's rush defense? That's a big part of the game, and we'll get into that. And man, we're just gonna enjoy the week, man. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. It's a game that really has lost its glamour. I feel like because of the downward trend Auburn football has been on for the past 10 or so years with Harsin, and now the struggles with Freeze, and then just the end of the Malzahn era, and really not being able to. We haven't beat Georgia since 2017. We're going on, it's 8-9 years now, and we've been somewhat competitive, but at the same time, not really. And this used to be a game, much like the Alabama. When you look at the records, there wasn't much of a difference 10 years ago. They might have had one up, it might have been even, and it was like that for a long time. And I really want Auburn to restore that pride in this game, because this is a game that true Auburn fans look to. Almost nothing against the Iron Bowl. We don't want to knock the Iron Bowl in any way. That is a very traditional, historic. It's a part of Auburn football completely. Auburn football would not be Auburn football if it were not for the Iron Bowl. But the Deep South's oldest rivalry was the first rivalry in the SEC. It's the longest game played in the SEC, and it was competitive for a long time with good programs. Auburn is very close to Georgia, just demographically, and Georgia fans, and it is a tradition, and it is something. There's a lot of hate there. There is a lot of hate. There's a lot of fueled passion. I get criticized all the times by my friends, because I really am more of a Georgia hater than I am an Alabama hater. It hasn't always been like that, but I lived in Georgia for a long time, and throughout that time, that was when Georgia was really on the rise with Kirby Smart getting hired, and I really got a terrible taste in my mouth for the Georgia Bulldogs. And I'm not ashamed to say that probably in the last 10 years, when the Dogs play the Crimson Tide, I've been somewhat pleased at the the outcomes of those games with Alabama, kind of reigning dominance over the Georgia Bulldogs in the Kirby Smart era. So, it's a dislike. It's a dislike on both ends, and it's almost kind of like how you hear some Alabama fans, especially. It's kind of died down now. It's not as deep as it once was, but there used to be a lot of Alabama fans who hated Tennessee, if not just as much as they hated Auburn. And it's almost got that same type of feel, in my opinion, just with the dislike there. I don't like Georgia, never have, and I really want to restore that pride that Auburn has against them in this very very old school traditional game that really just is a pride mark of Auburn football. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I got a lot of stuff I'm gonna come at y'all with this week. I got some memories of Georgia games in the past. We're going to drop some segments on that, and just this is a game that's it gets me up every year. I always look to it like I'm happy when it comes around. I'm happy to see Auburn on the field, and so yeah, we're gonna flash back. We're gonna talk about some stuff. So stay tuned. This episode, it was kind of back and forth a little bit, but like I said, I've been under the weather and I'm just now kind of coming out of it. But I wanted to get back out here, get with y'all. So stay tuned in, and we'll be back at you later on tomorrow sometime. Talk some more about this matchup coming up this week. War
24 hours, dog. The dog take one off the jaw, man. War down, amigo.